Welcome back to Spark Recaps. Today, we're delving into the frostbitten world of the 1984 sci-fi thriller Iceman. Set against the icy backdrop of the Arctic, the story begins with a team of workers excavating deep within a frozen cave. Their routine dig takes a dramatic turn when they stumble upon something extraordinary, a mysterious figure encased in ice. Carefully, they extract the massive ice block and transport it via helicopter to a nearby research lab. The scientists at the lab quickly grasp the significance of their discovery and send an urgent message to halt all further drilling operations. They also request the assistance of an expert to uncover the secrets hidden within the ice. Enter Dr. Stanley, an anthropologist specializing in Arctic studies and Eskimo culture. Upon his arrival, Stanley is introduced to Dr. Diana and the rest of the scientific team. The group initially speculates that they've unearthed a prehistoric animal, drawing parallels to the 1898 discovery of a mammoth with viable cells in Russia. Hopes are high that this find could lead to groundbreaking scientific advancements. The team begins meticulously slicing through the ice, using a laser, layer by layer, to avoid damaging whatever lies within. To their utter astonishment, they discover not an animal, but a Neanderthal human. Preserved in the ice for tens of thousands of years, Stanley examines the body and estimates that this Neanderthal lived between 40,000 and 100,000 years ago. The team confirms that the body's size aligns with that of a typical Neanderthal. However, their focus shifts to dissecting the body for further analysis, with plans to distribute samples to research centers worldwide. As they thaw the Neanderthal, they remove his clothing and tools to conduct tissue tests. They connect him to a brain monitoring system and are amazed to find that his organs and cells are in remarkably pristine condition. Dr. Diane hypothesizes that ancient humans may have possessed cryoprotective cells, which prevent tissue crystallization in freezing environments. The team becomes eager to revive the Neanderthal. After detecting faint brain activity, they attempt resuscitation using defibrillators to stimulate his heart. Miraculously, they succeed, bringing the Neanderthal, whom they name Charlie, back to life. Mabel, observing through the cameras, is captivated by Charlie's ability to communicate, albeit in a primitive manner. One evening, as the team gathers around a fire, Stanley begins to sing. Charlie, seemingly enjoying the melody, encourages Stanley to continue while playing with bones from his meal. Charlie even joins in, making happy noises and attempting to sing along. Later, the scientists decide to put Charlie back to sleep to conduct further experiments. They place him in a specialized D-wind chamber, hoping the cold will activate the cryoprotectants in his body, making extraction easier. Stanley, however, protests, arguing that they're treating Charlie like a lab animal and causing him harm. As Charlie's heartbeat slows, the scientists realize the experiment is too risky and remove him from the chamber. Charlie awakens furious, yelling at Stanley in his primitive language. He's visibly upset about the experiments and the scars they've left on his body. In a moment of rage, Charlie lunges at Stanley, pretending to attack him. He strikes the ground with a spear and pokes Stanley's chest, pleading for help to end his suffering. Stanley refuses, and after a tense struggle, he leaves the vivarium. Later, Stanley confides in Diane, expressing his concerns that the constant experiments are alienating Charlie and making communication increasingly difficult. He suggests that Diane accompany him into the vivarium, hoping her presence might soothe Charlie. When they enter, they find Charlie using rock powder to draw a bird on the ground, inspired by the scars on his hands. Diane grows nervous as Charlie approaches her, but after sniffing her, he offers her some of his food, a concoction made from bugs. Reluctantly, Diane eats it to avoid offending him. Charlie initially behaves amiably, but soon crosses a line by touching Diane inappropriately. Stanley intervenes, using the Neanderthal word for mine to assert boundaries. Charlie backs off, but the tension remains. Later, Charlie brings items from his cave, attempting to trade them for Diane. Stanley refuses the exchange. When Charlie sees Diane again, he becomes visibly sad, repeating the same words over and over. Mabel studies this behavior and believes she's identified Charlie's word for woman, though she's uncertain about another aspect of his language. Stanley and Diane try to coax Charlie into explaining his words, and he responds by drawing pictures that reveal he once had a wife and children. Overcome with emotion, Charlie begins running around, repeating those words. And Diane realizes he's asking where his family is. Their conversation is interrupted by the sound of a helicopter overhead. Charlie panics, climbing the rocks while repeatedly shouting, "Beta," which means bird. The scientists try to calm him and make the helicopter leave. But Charlie remains agitated. He climbs to the top of the vivarium, still shouting, "Beta." Later, Stanley visits an Eskimo tribe and shares the words Charlie has been using. The tribe recognizes them and explains that Beta refers to Sedna, a legendary bird that acts as a messenger of the gods, carrying people to heaven or hell based on their deeds. Stanley theorizes that Charlie's tribe perished when the Earth's magnetic poles flipped, causing the extinction of many animals. Charlie likely interpreted this as divine punishment and embarked on a dream walk, hoping to find the bird and offer himself in exchange for the animal's return. Now, Charlie believes the helicopter is Sedna, and there's no way to calm him. 34 hours later, Charlie dresses in the clothes, tools, and trinkets Stanley has given him. He paints his skin with crushed berries and chants incessantly, waiting for his god to return. Whenever Stanley enters the vivarium, Charlie hides, refusing to engage. One day, Charlie sneaks out of the vivarium, mimicking what he's seen Stanley do. He navigates through the lab, avoiding detection, and finds a mirror. Growling at his reflection, he mistakes it for another man challenging him. He smashes the mirror with his spear and is startled by a voice from the speakers. Terrified, he runs through the hallway, entering a room filled with lab animals. After examining a bird, he's frightened by a bear's growl and continues his frantic escape. He crashes into glass doors, eventually finding his way into another room. Startled by the sound of a moving vehicle, he hides behind a copy machine, accidentally turning it on. He flees again, only to be startled by an elevator. He enters a lab, breaks a jar of acid, and burns his hand slightly. Suddenly the lights go out, plunging Charlie into panic. He climbs onto furniture, slipping and breaking equipment. A scientist hears the commotion and enters, turning the lights back on. Charlie attacks, killing the man with his spear. He continues his rampage, growing more frantic as alarms blare. He discovers a tunnel that grows colder and eventually reaches a fire exit, running outside. Spotting the helicopter, he chases after it. The pilot attempts to knock him out with the skis, and the scientists eventually capture Charlie and bring him back inside. Later, X-rays reveal that Charlie has no broken bones or head injuries. The scientists blame Stanley for the death of their colleague, accusing his research of provoking Charlie's violent outburst. They announce that the experiments are over and Charlie will be transferred to another facility. Stanley argues that Charlie will die if kept in captivity, but his pleas fall on deaf ears. Determined to save Charlie, Stanley secretly strikes a deal with a guard. He enters the vivarium with furs to protect Charlie from the cold and takes him for a walk. The scientists soon realize they're missing and follow their footprints in the snow. As they walk, an ice shelf collapses, creating a crevasse that separates Stanley and Charlie. When the helicopter finally locates them, Charlie becomes ecstatic, shouting and leaping onto the helicopter's skis. He chants joyfully during the flight. As one of the pilots reaches for him, Charlie lets go and falls, gliding for miles before meeting his tragic end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spark Recaps for more thrilling stories. Hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest content. Your support means the world to us.